I don't say that lightly. It's a chocolate raspberry cake, you guys, and I think you're gonna completely love it. It's not too hard, there's a couple steps, but they're all really, really easy. In my bowl, I have a 1/4 cup of Dutch processed cocoa powder, that's unsweetened cocoa. To that, add 1½ cups of all-purpose flour. So you don't need any special flour, no cake flour for this cake. Scoop and level, and then 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, and then a teaspoon of coarse salt. If you're using fine salt, please make sure to use 1/2 teaspoon. Do not use a whole teaspoon, you will be really sorry. And then you'll write to me and be like, my cake was salty, it was ruined. And you don't want to ruin this cake because it's amazing and it has a lot of raspberries in it, and raspberries are kind of expensive, right? So you don't want to mess it up. Whisk together really, really well. Make sure that your baking soda is fully incorporated into the rest of your mixture. And then move on. Have your oven preheating at 350 because we're getting close to putting this in the oven. In the mixer, I have 1½ sticks of butter, and to that, add 1¼ cups of sugar. 1¼ Beat until creamy, which should not take very long. So you want to beat this until it's light and creamy. Then you can add your eggs. It's 3 eggs, and you want to add them one at a time. I want to crack these into a bowl just for safety's sake, and then add the eggs. It goes one at a time, and then beat to combine after each one. You can actually crack both of your eggs or all of your eggs into one container, and then they'll drop one at a time into the bowl if you're careful. I think it's gonna work from this bowl. I don't know yet. I've never done it. Let's see. Yeah, see? Whew. I don't like making empty promises. And then the final egg. And then for flavoring, because this is a raspberry-filled cake, I'm gonna use raspberry liqueur. It's a framboise. If you don't have it, you can skip it, or you can use a little bit of vanilla. But I'm gonna use a tablespoon of the raspberry liqueur. All right, now you can add your dry ingredients, and you wanna alternate the dry with a cup of buttermilk. Start with the dry, end with the dry. Makes it incorporate more evenly and better. You added all your dry, and then you added the liquid to separate, and it doesn't combine very nicely, and you have to beat it too long, and then it could get a little tough. Nobody wants a tough cake. Tough cookie, but not a tough cake. Add your buttermilk. This is low-fat buttermilk. 1 cup total, so 1/2 cup. The remaining buttermilk. And then the remaining dry mixture. Okay, beat to combine. And then what you want to do at the very end, beat in 4 ounces of melted bittersweet chocolate. And then your cake batter is done. Try not to make a mess, like hands off. Take your bowl off your mixer and just mix everything together. Make sure it's combined, and then have 3 pans. They're 8-inch cake pans, sprayed or buttered, and then lined with parchment. Sometimes, if I'm being really, really anal, I will weigh this, but I'm not gonna do it today. But if you want your cake layers to be exactly the same, you use a scale. That's what you do when you're working in a pastry shop. Smooth the batter into the pans so the layers aren't too thick. And if you don't have 3 pans, you could probably divide this into 2 pans and then cut it into 4 layers. These don't even get sliced, but you could do that. It would probably take, well, I know it would take longer to bake, but that's okay. It would be just fine. Okay, so here's the way that I often do it if I'm not weighing. I stick my finger in it, and then I stick my finger in the other cake, and then I stick my finger in the other cake, and if it goes up to the same spot on my finger, then they're all even. 350 degrees for about 25 minutes. The tops need to spring back when lightly touched. Okay, so for the filling, what you need are a total of 5 cups of raspberries. This is 3 cups, and you're gonna make a thickened filling and then fold fresh raspberries in after it cools. So put your 3 cups of raspberries into a pot. So then add 3/4 of a cup plus 2 tablespoons of sugar. Add a pinch of salt, and about 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. And you want to cook it down just until it's sort of, basically it's going to disintegrate, and then you're going to fold fresh raspberries in when it cools for texture. You're really just making a raspberry jam. And I love to make jam. Oh my gosh, it smells so good in here already. They break down pretty quickly, these raspberries, so you'll see it ends up being kind of like a mush, but a delicious, tasty mush. So you want to make sure this comes to a boil. You want to continue it boiling for 7 to 8 minutes, and it should reduce and thicken and sort of cling to the back of a spoon, and then you can turn it off. Okay, so the raspberry mixture is cool. You want to fold in 2 more cups of raspberries. It's kind of crazy. It's a raspberry-a-thon, but this is a very, very special cake, so make it worth it. Now you can start layering your cake. These cakes have come out of the oven. They're nice and cool. I have mine on a cardboard cake ground just because I feel like it makes it easier to move around. Put half of your raspberry mixture onto one of the layers. I like to spread the raspberry mixture pretty close to the edges, but not necessarily all the way to the edges, though it's not going to ooze the way a cream filling would ooze. So if you want to be able to see your mixture, you want to get it close to the edge. Then put another cake on top. I'm just placing them domed side down, and I'm not trimming them. I'm not doing any of that. It's pretty rustic, but because the bottom side is nice and flat, it'll end up looking very professional. The remainder of the raspberry mixture. Ooh, I feel like that was not quite half. This is more than half. I'm gonna sneak some of these raspberries into that bottom layer. Whoops, even them out. Then put the last layer on top. And then you frost it. This is an incredible chocolate frosting. We have a video for it, so you can watch that video separately, or you can use your favorite chocolate frosting. Now, if you want to do a super duper professional style frosting of this cake, you can do a crumb coat, which would be putting a very thin layer of frosting on your cake to sort of seal everything in, and then chilling it, and then doing a final layer, which I do kind of recommend because this is kind of a crazy cake, and you do want to seal all that stuff in. You don't want the raspberry oozing out between the layers of the frosting. So you can chill this. You just sort of do a very thin layer like that. So what happens is the butter that's in your frosting chills up and becomes like a solid barrier, and then you just put on a layer of nice room temperature frosting for your delicious texture and your swoopy decoration. And it's a win-win situation. So like I said, you could throw this into the fridge and get it nice and firm before you do your final layers, but I'm gonna throw caution to the wind and just go ahead and decorate straight from here. That's it, guys. How about putting a little bit of raspberries on top just because it's festive and it gives a little indication of what's inside. Makes it beautiful. Whoa, oh my God. I am gonna chill this just a sec before I dive in. But there it is, you guys. It's a chocolate raspberry cake from me to you. I hope you love it.